The Luka special first half of Game 7 saw Doncic score 27, matching the entire Phoenix Suns point total through the first two quarters, en route to the second largest win in a series-clinching game over the best team in the league of all time. The walking microwave Spencer Dinwiddie owned the spotlight, stepping up to the moment by hitting at least 5 three-pointers for the second straight outing, being the perfect Robin to Doncic with his first 30-piece of 2022's playoffs. Fueled by the potential greatest player of all time in the making, Luka Doncic, the most easily likable superstar in today's game, this man's not about flopping, drama, ego, attitude, or referee manipulation. Doncic is pure skill, and his biggest passion is tearing his opponent's heart out between the lines. This video evaluates how the 2022 playoff Dallas Mavericks are making teams quit. Before continuing, just 10.8% of you watching right now are subscribed, so if you haven't already, please subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss a single upload. Also, please leave a thumbs up. It takes a few seconds, makes a massive difference in YouTube's algorithm. Lastly, stay updated on the NBA and the channel by following at DFlowHoops on Instagram and Twitter. Link is down below in the description for those two platforms. Making his case to be the best player in the association against Phoenix in round 2, dominating in every facet of the game, Luka Doncic had more points than Devin Booker, more rebounds than DeAndre Ayton, more assists than Chris Paul, and more steals than a DPOY candidate in Mikal Bridges. I'll talk about the series against the Warriors coming up and who the experts are picking, but we have to talk a little more about the all-time greatness from Luka that he just displayed in round 2. Despite going down 3-2 in the series, Luka had this to say with his season on the line, entering the locker room after Game 5. Luka also took exception to Devin poking the ball out of his hands during the end of that Game 5, as Doncic trash-talked him in return. Backing up every one of his words, Doncic scored a combined 68 points to put the hyped-up Suns to sleep, torturing the number 1 seed on their home floor. After getting the switch onto Cam Johnson, look at all the space Dallas's offense creates for their best player to go to work, viciously whipping out a signature combo, then another between-the-legs dribble. Doncic elusively fakes the drive with a hezzy, going between the legs once more, and then he sends Johnson to Cancun with a step-back ankle breaker that'll be played on highlight reels for not just decades, but centuries to come. That shot gave the Mavs a shocking 30-plus point lead entering the locker room, and ultimately they'd finish that blowout with Spencer Dinwiddie and Jalen Brunson going off in the second half. As we heavily broke down in this video on your screen right now, after Dallas tied this series up at 3, Frank Ntilikina held Chris Paul and Devin Booker to 3 for 40 shooting from the field when he was matched up on them. I recommend you watch that video after this, but whether it was Reggie Bullock's full court pressure, having Doncic hedge and recover instead of fully switch, and also the adjustment to have the low man cut off Phoenix's drives to the basket by rotating over early, this was a full team effort to stop the 64-win Suns attack and end up embarrassing Phoenix. Luka's play is what deserves every headline, and we'll get back to the Slovenian sensation in a bit, but what'll go overlooked is the fact that Monty Williams got outcoached, and other than Doncic, that's what the Western Conference semifinals came down to. Better chess moves from Jason Kidd, and relentless execution from the Mavs. The top 4 teams remaining are also top 4 in defensive rating throughout the postseason, proving the phrase defense wins championships to be correct. And of course, Golden State will be a whole different animal than Phoenix, but with Dallas ranking number 2 in defensive efficiency, only behind the Celtics, that proves they're equipped for the challenge of clamping up the 3-time champions. Only question is, will they execute like they did against Phoenix? This team was 17-18 at the beginning of 2022. Luka Doncic got injured in the last game of the regular season. The Mavericks went down 0-2 against the number 1 team in the NBA. Teams put in that position have historically went on to lose a playoff series 93% of the time, but with their vocal leadership on and off the court, the Mavericks' collective demeanor stayed poised enough to mentally bounce back. After all they've gone through, you can't deny how unbelievable it is that Dallas is now in the association's Final Four, competing in the conference finals. Potentially shaping up to be a 2011-esque playoff run, here's a few facts that could allow you to predict Dallas winning it all. Firstly, the Mavs went 6-2 against the remaining playoff teams during the regular season, as Jason Kidd's group is 3-1 against the team they're about to face in the Golden State Warriors. They're 1-1 against the Miami Heat, and they went an undefeated 2-0 in games versus Boston this year. Also boding well for fans in the Big D is that they have the best player among any of those teams, the great, rapidly ascending talent in Luka Doncic. Despite all that I just mentioned, most importantly the fact that the Mavs took 3 of 4 games over the Dubs during the regular season, 2 of which came in convincing fashion after the trade deadline with Spencer Dinwiddie, still, very few basketball experts over at ESPN are taking Dallas to win this series. As you can see right here, 14 out of 18 writers have went with the 3-time champions from the Bay Area, picking the Golden State Warriors over Dallas to advance to the NBA Finals. It needs to be stated that regardless of what happens in the conference finals, the Mavs have been a resounding success, as in the post-Kristaps Porzingis era, the group of low-ego, high IQ, and well-rounded group of players surrounding the best high-volume superstar and the best player on the planet right now in Doncic, whether it's stretch bigs like Dorian Finney-Smith, Maxi Kleber, or Davis Bertans, an underrated 3-and-D guy like Reggie Bullock, or shot creators like Dinwiddie and Brunson, those guys are perfectly suited around Doncic for success. Complete with a veteran coach and an all-time great point guard in Jason Kidd, who's learned from his failure in Milwaukee as the man in charge, helped win a title as an assistant with LA, he now looks like an elite head coach that's capable of making the requisite championship-winning adjustments. Everything's fallen into place for Dallas during the second half of 2021-22, and it's been awesome to make content about. The Mavericks continue to stun the basketball universe. Many assume Luka's just some up-and-comer who needs a few more years before going all the way, but the man's here now, and if you don't wake up to that realization, like the Suns clearly didn't, you'll find yourself kicking it up on a beach, thinking about what you could have done differently. We'll see if the Warriors' ego is too much for them to back up on the court against Dallas, just like it was for the Suns. This could very well be championship number 2 for the Mavericks organization, and if that's not accepted as at least a possibility by their opponents, that increases the likelihood of it happening. Game 1 on Wednesday, and this entire series should be a thriller, and I can't wait for it. Do you agree with the experts, or does Dallas advance to the finals? Best answer down below in the comments gets next video shoutout. Top 5 commenters by June 21st receive free NBA merchandise of their choosing this summer, so leave your take on today's question to compete in Community Speaks. Today's Speaks winner is John Augusta Mediville, who says, I think this will be the year for the Celtics because of the collective effort of the whole team. Tatum and Brown makes the team better. Also, Grant Williams and Al Horford are very underrated players, and the DPOY Marcus Smart, as you've mentioned, is the backbone of the C's. Pause to read the rest of John's answer and the honorable mentions. I hope you have a great one. D-Flow signing off.